Are your strategies outperforming in StrategyQuant X, but then stumble when you move it to other platforms like MetaTrader or TradeStation? If this happens to you most of the time, no worries, it happens to me, it happens to every user who uses StrategyQuant X. In this video, I will explain to you why this happens and how to fix it. First of all, if you don't know, let me introduce you to StrategyQuant X. It is a platform that can generate strategies without any code. It's not unique in this marketplace, but it is one of the best in my opinion because of its other features. Basically, the platform has a pool of entry blocks and a pool of exit blocks and a pool of indicators and filters. And it shuffles everything up to come up with strategies that matches your criteria. So here we are in StrategyQuant X, and I am building a long-only strategy using genetic evolution, conditions 1 to 2 with stop loss and profit target required. These are the options for genetic builder. And the data here, I'm using TradeStation engine with the S&P 500 since 2009. And this is my requirement. Profit factor of greater than 1.3, average trade greater than $100, return to drawdown ratio greater than 4. I'm requiring 1,000 strategies. So running the builder will generate 1,000 strategies. We can stop it at any time. There you go. You have 1,000 strategies as per your requirement, or even better. Once you have your strategies, you can run them through multiple robustness testing and save them, and they are ready to go. So far, so good. You immediately have 1,000 strategies that all based on your criteria, on your instrument, and so on and so forth. Now, to trade the strategy, you need to take it to another platform that can execute the trades and connect to a broker. And StrategyQuant X offers two solutions. Either export the code as plain English, it's called pseudocode. So basically, you can take it into any other platform and try to program in that platform. Or it exports direct code to two types of platforms: MetaTrader 4 and 5, TradeStation and Multicharts. MetaTrader uses MQL and TradeStation Multicharts uses a form of easy language. So for example, I like this strategy. I click on it. And if you go to the source code here, you have the JForex. This is for Java. And then you have MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, and you have TradeStation and Multicharts, and you have pseudocode and XML. So for example, this strategy, it's on es.d. If I click here, copy all, and then go to TradeStation and bring the strategy code, paste everything and verify. And now the strategy is running. So this is the strategy, and that's it, you're done. Now TradeStation can trade this strategy on its brokerage firm. Here is our problem. In StrategyQuant X, we are using the futures es.d since 2009 till end of 2019. Same thing is here since 2009. Same symbol, but the strategy executed here produced $37,000, 947. Here it produces 52 something. Profit factor 2.2, here is 2.4. Average trade 214. Average trade here is 232. Number of trades 177. Number of trades here 226. But the equity chart looks highly correlated. So the strategy is different, the numbers are different, but the curve is very correlated. So why this is happening? First, let me point out that this problem is not only related to StrategyQuant X. All the other competitors like Build Alpha, Genetic System Builder, Adapt Trade, they all have the same issues. Now, I don't work for any of these companies and I don't have any inside information. But from my own research, here is why this is happening. Problem number one is engine translation. If you speak more than one language, you will understand this. It's impossible sometimes to translate whatever you're trying to translate from one language to another perfectly. Every language has its nuances and the way you talk and the way you structure the sentence. A lot of times, it will be impossible to translate 100% whatever you're trying to say in language A to language B, even if you are fluent in both languages. And here is the same thing. StrategyQuant X is built on Java, Build Alpha is built on C, and the other two platforms are also built on some version of C. And they are translating to easy language, which is a high-level language, and some of them translating to MQL and some of them translating to NinjaTrader. These are all different languages. They have different structure. So it's not as easy as it looks to translate from one language to another. Plus, these software developers don't have direct access to the other platforms' engines. So for example, TradeStation doesn't welcome these platforms and say, look, here's our engine, go dig in deep and try to translate whatever we are doing. Plus, when TradeStation update their engine, they don't notify the other platform. This applies to all other platforms. So their incentives are not aligned with each other. And that's why it will always be like a cat and mouse. So TradeStation, NinjaTrader, MetaTrader, all these platforms will have their own path to update. And then all these other builders try to catch up to find out what's the update and fix whatever it's broken. Second problem is data. So data providers are totally different from one to the other, even though they are all receiving the data from the same exchange in case of futures and stocks and ETFs. In terms of Forex, every bank has their own data stream. But let's focus on futures. It comes from one exchange. But even then, they are totally different from one data vendor to the other because data needs to be cleaned up and there are so many things that need to be done before servicing it to the other client. One other major problem is timestamp. So most platforms timestamp the bar on the close, but some platforms like MetaTrader stamp the bar on the open. And of course, this is a huge deal. So here is an example. I have here two bars. This is hourly bars, H1. So this one is from 8 a.m. till 9 a.m. Second bar is from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. In TradeStation, this bar will be stamped at 10 because it's stamping the close. The same bar, MetaTrader will see it as 9 a.m. because it's stamping the open. And of course, this will have many issues with the code and how to generate the orders and so on and so forth. So some platforms like StrategyQuant X and Build Alpha who exports to TradeStation, NinjaTrader, and MetaTrader, they will face other problems than, let's say, Genetic System Builder or AdaptTrade, because those guys only export to TradeStation and Multicharts and NinjaTrader. They're all stamping at the close. The guys who are stamping the close and the open, now they have to deal with two different engines and they have to deal with two different logic. So it's just an extra layer of complication that adds to these platforms. Problem number 3 is resources. All these platforms has to have some developers behind their platforms in order to develop, solve bugs, add new features, and so on and so forth. Also, they have to run a business of selling these platforms, marketing, and so on and so forth. And other than StrategyQuant X, every other platforms that I know, it's usually a single person behind it. So that person is the business manager, is the customer support, is the sales manager, and is the developer. So it's really hard to give enough time to solve every little nuances happening on the other platforms. So what most of these platforms do is they export their own indicators inside TradeStation or Multicharts or NinjaTrader in order to mitigate most of the mismatches between the strategies in both platforms. So for example, these are functions in Genetic System Builder exported to TradeStation in order to match the strategy. Same thing, these are the functions by StrategyQuant X in order to match the strategies between both platforms. Number 4 on our list is complications. The more complication you add to your strategy in StrategyQuant X on any of these builders, the more likely that the strategy will not match when you move it to the other platforms. Those complications could be anything: profit target, stop loss, many variables, many filters. The more you add, the more likely it's not going to be the same on the other platform. And finally, at number 5 is other nuances. Every platform has its own nuances. So developers know this because they know the code under the hood, and some things you cannot just do. So for example, when I needed to program my market regime indicator for StrategyQuant X, I couldn't do some features because the way StrategyQuant X was built could not do that features. Now, this is not a bug or a fault. It's just the way the StrategyQuant X engine was built. it wasn't meant to handle that feature. So you can imagine when TradeStation, NinjaTrader, MetaTrader, they have some nuances in their engine that the other platforms trying to replicate, they either can do it or they have to do a workaround to approximate how to do it. Another example is ranking. For example, StrategyQuant X added ranking where you can rank 100 instrument and trade the top 5. That could not be done in Multicharts or TradeStation without some heavy coding and a lot of workaround. Why? Again, this is not a bug. The platform was not built to do that feature. Take crypto as another example. Crypto uses 8 decimals. Now, Forex used to use 4 decimals and then they introduced the 5th, which is just a gimmick. But everything else uses 2 or 3 decimals. So those platforms that meant to trade futures, for example, they are not used to trade crypto. Even their indicators are not to the point of calculating the 8th decimal. And therefore, of course, this platform now has a band-aid solution to trade crypto. Same as StrategyQuant X and Build Alpha and GSP have a band-aid solution to approximate the export of strategies. Also, I get this many times, which is MetaTrader trying to trade futures. This platform was not built to trade futures, and futures are different. So again, it's just a band-aid solution and it will not work properly. Now that I laid down the most probable causes why this discrepancy between the building platform and the execution platform, let's find the solutions. And number 1 is update. You need to update to the next version of your platform. So when StrategyQuant X update their platform, they usually update all the indicators, all the calculations and the function. And it is really important to re-import those indicators and functions into your platform. So usually when you install a new StrategyQuant X, you will have custom indicators inside the folder. If you click on it, you will find here TradeStation, for example. So if you click on TradeStation and just click on the ELD, this should re-import all the functions, indicators, and strategies. So just click on all of them and yes to all, and it will go and update everything and verify everything again. Now remember, when you update your StrategyQuant X, keep the old version in a separate folder, because most likely the update version will fix something and it will break another thing. So if the thing that it breaks is very important to you, you have something to go back to. If the thing that it breaks is not that important, then you can switch to the new version. This applies to all other building platforms like the one that I mentioned. Point number 2 to fix the discrepancies is data. Data is really an important part of every algorithmic trader, and it's an important part of every platform. Without data, you cannot do anything. And when you use different data vendors, you will find discrepancies even in the same platform. So here is an example of data. Here I have a simple strategy. When the SMA 5 period crosses above the SMA 20 period, we will go long and we will exit after 5 bars. Here I have the same strategy. So SMA 5 cross above SMA 20, we go long, exit after 5 bars. Here we are using TradeStation engine at ES. This is the daily time frame since beginning of 2009 till April 7th. And here we are using TradeStation engine, same historical look back, but the data is from TradeStation. So I exported 24 hours session from TradeStation, but it's daily time frame. So both are the same. I run this full back test and let's run this full back test. And now let's compare. So this strategy, same engine, same platform. I'm just making use of a different data vendor. So this one makes $10,000 with 487 trades. This one makes $9,900 with 402 trades. So just by changing the data, everything else is the same, I get different results. So always make sure to use the data that you will trade with in your backtesting. For example, if you are trading at the end with MetaTrader, then it's very important to import that data from MetaTrader into StrategyQuant X and test on that data. Build your strategies on that data. because then you will decrease your discrepancy a lot. Also, extremely important to point is your executing trading platform, meaning TradeStation, NinjaTrader, whatever your platform that you will execute the trade on. If you're executing on a special session or a special time frame, like 15 minutes, 1 hour, then you need to export that time frame, that session into SQX. Also, do not build the daily time frame or the hourly time frame from 1 minute time frame. That's also a no-no. You should export any time frame that you want to use in SQX as its own. So if you're planning to test on 15 minutes, you should export 15 minutes. If you're planning on trading 30 minutes or daily, you should export every one separately. And number 4 on our list is the instrument parameter. So if you're trading stocks, it's extremely easy. Every stock move in 1 cent at a time. Of course, it can move more, but the minimum move, which is called the tick, is 1 cent. And every stock point is $1. So the move, 1 point, it's subdivided into 100 moves, which is 1 cent each. In futures, the operation is totally different because every future market has its own minimum tick, minimum movement, and it has its own value. So for example, this is crude oil in StrategyQuant X, and as you can see, the pip or the tick size is 0.01. That means we have 100 ticks in every point, but every point is $1,000. And if I bring heating oil, you can see that heating oil goes 4 decimals, and each 4th decimal move is 1 tick. And when heating oil moves in 1 full point, that's $42,000. And this is the settings in TradeStation. This is for the S&P 500. You can see it has a minimum move of 25. That means 4 moves in a point, and each point is worth $50. So every platform has its own place where you can set these values, the tick value or the pip value, the minimum move, and the big point value. And those are extremely important to set it up correctly in order to avoid any discrepancies. Number 5 on our list is slippage and commission. Try to not add your slippage and commission in your building platform. So if you're using StrategyQuant X, do not add slippage and commission in the strategy. You can use the average trade to mitigate that. So let's take the S&P 500. The S&P 500 futures, it costs $2.50, let's say, on average, to get in, $2.50 to get out. That's the commission for the broker. Now, it could be $1 for you, $3 for somebody else. It doesn't matter. Let's say it's $5 in and out. Slippage is 1 tick. So as we know by now, 1 tick in the S&P 500 is $12.50. So 1 tick in, 1 tick out, that's $25. So $25 and 5. So slippage and commission is $30 in total. If you add that in SQX and there is a bug, so one version I noticed there was a bug where it was not adding $30, sometimes it's adding 5. So it's much better to leave it off and you look at your average trade. If your average trade is $100, well, you know $30 is slippage and commission. So you're very safe. You are almost 4 times your slippage and commission. So you look at your average trade and you judge if it's good or not. Then when you move to your execution platform, then you can add your slippage and commission. Number 6 on our list is simple versus complicated. I would highly advise to stay simple with your strategies. Simple strategies, first of all, they are much more robust than complicated strategies. They are very easily vetted in any robustness testing. So you don't need complicated algorithms to vet if the strategy is robust or not. Also, it's extremely easy to debug. Let's say you build the strategy, it's very simple. You can just look at the chart and see if your logic is making sense or not, if you're entering on the same logic or not. It's a lot easier to debug. Complicated strategies, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's very hard to debug. It's very hard to vet for robustness. And most likely, it will not transform well to other platforms. So if you're adding 2 or 3 indicators, 2 multiplications of ATR, stop loss, profit target, break even, stop loss, trailing stop loss, all these add more complications to the code, to the engine, and most likely you'll find that these strategies does not transfer well to the execution platforms. Also, intraday strategies or multiple time frame strategies don't transfer well. And the final solution is look at correlations. The best way to vet the strategy from your building platform to your execution platform is correlation. Don't look at the number of trades, the average trade, the net profit, and so on and so forth. If your equity curve is highly correlated with the equity curve on the other platform, I think you are good, because most likely the error is in data vendor or in your instrument properties, big point value, the stop loss value. It's something of these sorts that will change the number of trades or the net profit. And now just debug it in your execution platform to vet if it's still good or not. The key takeaway here is the strategy discrepancy between the building platform like StrategyQuant X and the execution platform like TradeStation is not a bug. This will never be solved because the builders will always trying to catch up to the execution platform. And in my humble opinion, for these platforms to succeed, they need to move on to be an execution platform. And actually, StrategyQuant X is one of the first to move in that direction. So right now, they have their Algo Cloud. Algo Cloud will take the strategies built in StrategyQuant X engine, and then without any translation, it's using the same code, same engine, it goes and execute those strategies live on the market. Currently, it's only for stocks and ETFs, and hopefully soon they will introduce Forex, futures, and crypto. By the way, I have an infographic that summarizes all these points. If you go to the community and go to docs and go to resources and then go to StrategyQuant X, and here is this one, reduce SQX discrepancies. So this guide summarizes the whole thing in one infographic. To learn more about StrategyQuant X, watch this video and I will see you there.